Okay, I'll start with a short explanation. I'm going to show you some slides now. The things that you're going to see, there's nothing new actually. They're reproductions from various media organs in the United States, USSR. Probably you see these pictures 100 times a day. I'm going to give you a different viewpoint on the same things, same facts that you see, and probably don't take much trouble to understand and think what you are seeing. I don't know if you heard my introduction. I'm an ideological subverter, yes, from Russia. Okay. Okay, it's the idea of showing the slides to you is just to provoke questions in your mind, and later on, if you still have patience with me, I will explain how exactly the system of ideological indoctrination and subversion works. Well, we know that we are living in a time of peace, and we know that recent walkout from the Geneva talks by the Soviets is centered around the nuclear arms and rockets. We don't see much about the Soviet preparedness, a Soviet viewpoint on the military strategy. Well, this is a selection of pictures, only pictures. Confucius said that one picture tells more than 1,000 words. These pictures are from everyday newspapers in USSR. This is what the Soviet citizen looks upon every day. Basically, this is a militaristic spirit, pictures of foreign delegates observing the rockets passing the Red Square. The idea of invasion, unlike in the United States, is not being criticized by the Soviet media at all. On the contrary, it's being forcefully encouraged from the age of, say, 5 or 6 year old. Every Soviet student or schoolboy has to go through military training. This is a picture from a special military school where young kids, well, maybe 4 or 5 years old, are being trained to be future officers of the Soviet army. That's what they do when they grow up. These are the Soviet sailors, Navy officers in a foreign country. We criticize a lot American presence in foreign countries, but we never criticize and we never pay too much attention about these planes landing with ammunition and firearms in, say, countries like Ethiopia. These are the pictures in Time magazine which probably you've seen and then forgotten about it. These are the Soviet tanks on foreign territory. Are there any protest demonstrations in Los Angeles or New York City? No. These are the Soviet military advisors. Nobody tells them Russians go home. How it starts? The media obviously plays a great role. This is a political cartoon from a Western newspaper. You see, it was published sometimes after the Second World War. These 4 columns of peace, pay attention to whom they are being erected. Roosevelt on the left, Churchill on the right, and Stalin in the middle. A peacemaker, Stalin. Okay, this is another thing. Chicago Tribune, January 1945. Destiny's Child. New Year, 45, is born. Look who is looking with love and affection. Churchill, Roosevelt, Chiang Kai-shek, and Stalin. And this is how the Soviet media describes Churchill as a warmonger. Искусство, Moscow, 1951. This is how the Soviet media presents American militarism linked with Nazism. This is how the Soviet media illustrates South African colonialism, not much different from a political cartoon in New York Times or Los Angeles Times. As a matter of fact, almost similar. Growth of inflation due to military expenses. A political cartoon from Pravda newspaper. It could be published as it is in Los Angeles Times. Nobody would wonder. NATO is criticized by the Soviet media, but so it is by the American media. Law and order, justifying the former military criminals. This picture. This is what this is a number of books which I selected in an average university bookstore. Most of them are left-wing propaganda. Erich Fromm, May Man Prevail? The Indochina story, of course, from the viewpoint of left. Lenin's work, How to Deal with Communists, by a former ambassador to USSR. Marx and Engels, Lenin, Herbert Marcuse. The Communist Movement. These are the books which are included in the list of reading for an average student of political science department in any college of Canada or United States. These are the books which are on sale in United States and Canada. Soviet propaganda. These are the booklets and magazines published by Novosti Press Agency, for which I worked for 12 years. No restriction for these booklets. I found them on the campus of Toronto University. Half of these books I edited myself when I was working for Novosti in Moscow. This is a very interesting thing. It doesn't say much unless I explain what it is. These are the seals attached to crates of books imported from USSR to Montreal. As you can easily see, the seal is unbroken, which means that the customs in Canada didn't bother to see what's inside. And as I know from my personal experience, we used to import machine guns AK-47 and ammunition through India to Bangladesh in exactly the same crates, signed printed matter, to Dhaka University. This is what editor of Time magazine suggests you to read at the time of invasion, fall of Southeast Asia to communists. Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago is on the bottom of the list according to the editor's choice. Why on bottom of the list? These are the books which are never included in the list of compulsory reading to in any university or college in United States or Canada. Look what the student is missing. The Death of Stalin, Childhood in Prison, Ferment in Ukraine, Russian Secret Service, The Great Terror. These are the books which for some strange reason Americans are denied the freedom and right to read. Why America is in global retreat? Have you ever seen this book on a campus? No, of course not. I know that. Anthony Sutton, National Suicide. Have you ever had a chance to read that book? Oh, you had? Well, good. This is another very interesting thing. A description how drugs penetrate into Western society originated in communist world. For some strange reason, that textbook is never included in the list of compulsory reading for students of political science or international affairs. This is the book written by a former member of Communist Party in Czechoslovakia, explaining the tactics of subversion. For some strange reason, it was not published in the United States or Canada. The author had to pay for the publication himself after defecting to the West. This is another interesting example. Exoneration and Ultimatum, written by Richard Romer, a science fiction novel about invasion of the United States into Canada to expropriate the oil and natural gas resources in that neighboring friendly nation. Why it took invasion, I don't understand. 51% or more of the companies are already belong to the United States. In Canada, as probably you know already. Who is the author? Richard Romer is a dynamic and dedicated exponent of the needs of potential. And so anyway, he's a friend of Pierre Trudeau, a former military officer. And what he writes is something that Andropov probably would be very happy about. He describes a situation when the only thing that saves Canada from United States military occupation is a call from Andropov to the President of the United States threatening him with the reply or with the military answer to an invasion of Canada by United States. And this is written by a close friend of Pierre Trudeau, a politician, a former military man. Why? Is he a paranoid or am I a paranoid?